Hello and welcome to a Joshua only Traveling Young at a very strange time of the week. But we haven't posted in a while and people have asked us a little bit why we haven't, so I wanted to fill you guys in. Also, coincidentally, I've always wanted to do a video about the Danish healthcare system, but like all our videos, I wanted to apply to something in our lives, and now I have an experience to talk about. So there you go. But first, let me quickly lead you up to what took me to the hospital. And let me say right off the bat, this was not COVID related. There was no COVID involved. But during week 42, when Maya and I were traveling on our trip, I felt like it was just allergies. I had a little bit of a runny nose, a cough, and sore throat, which is a typical cycle I go through in the fall because of just like fall ragweed allergies and stuff when leaves come down. But this time the cough ended up being a bit severe. But beforehand, actually, this is a moment in an Instagram video that you can really hear me talking. Hey, Ma, you got some Roman stuff behind you.
I sure do.
But what do you have over here behind you?
This would be the Colosseum.
The Colosseum. A couple friends reached out and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, I don't feel 100%, but I guess I was on vacation, so I was in a good mental state and I powered through, but apparently I wasn't great. So this cough got a bit severe and I thought I strained a muscle in my abdomen because from coughing so much, it hurt when I coughed. But then I started to feel okay. We took it light at the end of the trip because of that, but we got to Sunday, flew back, and it was very uncomfortable to even sit on the plane and stuff. So we called 1813. They suggested I take pain medicine. I explained to them what happened, and I said, all right, I have to actually fly again the next day for a work trip. And they said, take medicine, and if you have a problem, you can see a doctor in Italy. So I thought I'd see how I felt in the morning. The next morning I felt better, so I took the flight, went to Milan. And and it was going okay. I felt all right, but then I noticed some bruising in my abdomen, and then that had me worried. And then I was like, well, I'm coming home again in a couple days. I'll just fly back and then figure things out there. And the day I flew back, it was I started to feel bad again. So Miranda picked me up at the airport. I called 1813 again, and that time I said, I really should see a doctor, I think. Now I have this bruising on top of this uncomfortable feeling when I'm coughing or moving too much in my abdomen, and that doesn't seem good at all. So they said, yes, go to Herlev. And we drove from the airport, didn't even come home, went straight to the hospital. And that's where this part of the story is going to resume right after the intro. Okay, so I don't typically go to the emergency room like ever. This is the first time I've actually been on 1813 here since living in Denmark 4.5 years. First time I've been in any hospital, but obviously this bruising concerned me and it just wasn't getting any better. So first thing I'll point out that's a big difference between the US and here is in the US, you go to the hospital, the emergency room, unannounced, which means you get there, you fill out paperwork, eventually you talk to somebody, and I think that increases the amount of time that you're waiting. In this case, that all happens on the phone, and then they tell you to go to the hospital. And so when I get there, they immediately are aware that I'm coming, and I never even sit down. I talk to somebody for like 5 minutes or so. They know what's going on because they've been, flagged in the system from my phone call, and then they basically immediately take me to the back. Now it is like midnight, so there's not a lot going on. I then go and sit down in the back for 5 minutes, and then a nurse comes in, picks me up, takes me to another room, and then that's where I get like blood work. She does my vital signs and basic like checkup and everything. And so I'd say it was like 20 minutes after arriving at the hospital. I'd already been examined. She'd taken pictures of the bruising stuff and then did all this blood work and took the blood. And then that was like 20 minutes in. All that's already taken care of. So within an hour, I'd say, of landing from my flight, I was already to the point where somebody was starting to take a peek. So that's good. It moved pretty quick. But then it started to slow down because they have to wait for blood work to come back. It's basically 1, 2 in the morning at this point. So it takes a little longer for not as many doctors. It takes longer for them to look at what comes back. So it's basically around 3 or so in the morning when a doctor came and said, hey, all the work says that you're okay. There was some kind of infection and you'd lost some blood. But I'm not really sure what's causing this other stuff. So I really think you should stay the night or come back in the morning. And I said, let's just stay the night. That way I can be looked at immediately and not have to kind of monkey with the schedule and then like get involved. It's like, if I just stay here, I know that I'll go ahead and get things taken care of, and we'll hopefully get looked at first thing in the morning. So I stayed the night, and that's something I've never actually done. I think I've only stayed in a hospital overnight when I had my tonsils out as a little kid. So by this point, I was thinking to myself, like, boy, I mean, if I was in the U.S., the amount of money that would have been spent on this hospital stay, a doctor, nurses, tests, oh my goodness. But they take me to a room where there's 4 beds. There's me and one other person. And then they set me up. Miranda and I come back. They say goodbye. They go home. And then I crash. So I get up the next morning. They put like one of those IV things in my arm to be able to take blood easier and also do other stuff if needed. And then they come and take multiple blood tests. And then they bring me some breakfast. And everything's like cruising along just fine. I still don't really know what the problem is, but I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable, but I'm not getting worse, which is good. And there was no like urgent, they weren't like hooking me up to machines all the time, which is, makes you feel more comfortable. So anyway, they end up doing a lot of tests. They did an x-ray, they did a CT scan, and then they did a lot of different blood tests. They took blood multiple times. And I have to say, it was like super thorough. They wanted to make sure that it wasn't an issue with an organ or something that was causing this pain, since it was in the abdomen. And I was impressed at how thorough they were, trying to rule everything out. Now, at one point, because of the cough, and I had some productive coughs, they were concerned that it could be COVID related. So I got moved into a room by myself until they could perform a test and make sure that I didn't need to be in isolation. So that was super cool, because I was in my own room at that point, my own bathroom. And I noticed that there's even a door that you can go in and out of the building from that room in case you needed to be fully isolated, but inside the hospital in some way. So I was in there for a little bit, and I think now I'm sure this is typical in hospitals, but I'm not in hospitals often. So I thought it was kind of fun, where basically whenever I had to go into something, nurse would come in and they'd wheel me in my bed to all these places. And both the CT scan and the x-ray were just down the hall in a relatively close place to where I was staying. So it's pretty easy and efficient to get put in the room, have the test, and then come back. I also have to say, as not a very good Danish speaker, I appreciate everybody spoke to me in English. Very easy to understand. We communicated all the complexities of what I was experiencing. Not a problem at all. Everybody was great. So also, I want to say that when I was getting the CT scan, the lady commented how much she liked my voice. And I appreciate that, Pranella. If you happen to be watching this, I don't know, but it meant a lot, because I mean, that's, my voice is kind of one of my things. I was a DJ and stuff, and I always, it makes me feel good, obviously, especially when I'm like going through tests, for somebody to give you a compliment and make you feel good. So that was super nice to hear, because I was obviously concerned about all these things that were happening. So one of the things that I think is interesting is basically all these tests, from the EKG to the CT scan, all this stuff. Your CPR number, which is, if you're not Danish, that's like a social security number, is your key to unlock all this stuff. And I think it's pretty cool that they basically confirm who you are by you repeating your CPR number every time you get anything done. And then when I went into the CT scan, I even saw my name with my CPR number on the machine, so I knew it was me. So they have all these like checks to make sure the right person is getting the right test. And even when they came and brought me any medicine, they confirmed that it was me through my CPR number every time. And all these things, and also had a band that they could scan. All that is kind of an interesting comfort, which doesn't really exist in the US system so much, that every single step, and I met a new person, they'd make sure that I was the correct person by repeating my CPR number. And then that would then get obviously logged along with my health history. So anyway, I was there for most of the day on Friday. I left around 5-ish maybe. And the result in the end is apparently I had a really bad chest infection, and that hadn't fully gone away. And that was evident in my blood and through the stuff that I coughed up that they could, examine. And so they gave me really strong penicillin to treat the chest infection. But that had caused me to basically burst a blood vessel in my abdomen and create a bit of a hematoma, which created this pain in my abdomen. Which, I mean, it sounds more terrifying and it looks like I've been in a car accident, but it's really, it's a bit painful. I hate to say painful, just more uncomfortable. But yeah, so that's basically what the issue was. So now it's Sunday. I'm recording this on Sunday, so I've been back for 2 days. I've been taking the penicillin and some additional pain medicine, and it's feeling much better. I'm definitely on the mend, and I feel well enough to do this. 2 days ago, I wouldn't have set up the camera. But I have to say, I mean, that whole experience was just, it was fine. It was, everybody was attentive. The amount of time I had, there was a bit of waiting because it takes time to have a test, process the test, somebody look at it, and then, be able to diagnose something to bring you information and stuff. So I get the time that I was there. It's just normal. But I don't think it was excessive. I was taken care of pretty quickly, and I was pretty pleased with the whole experience. And of course, unlike in the US, at like 3 months from now, I'd probably be getting a flood of bills in the mail from each doctor I saw, each test I had done, and all that stuff, which is certainly a bit of a nightmare in the stuff that you have to go through there. So it was, I think I got really good treatment, and I feel better. Everybody took me seriously, helped me in English, and it was just it was positive, and it's been great. The only hiccup is there was a problem with my prescription. I had to go back to the pharmacy today and then call the number again to get it resolved. They hadn't dispensed enough pills, but again, I mean, that was easy to solve. It was just calling 1813 again, and they saw the mistake and fixed the prescription so I can get it filled again. And that was it. And here I am trying to get better and feel better. I think the lessons that I learned here is, I guess like this whole concept of traveling and being on vacation is so different in Denmark, where in the US, I would power through everything because taking time off work from being sick is costly. You get so little vacation time, you don't want to waste it sitting around not feeling well. And I'm used to just powering through everything. And I don't know if the results would have been any different. I'd probably be at this state a few days sooner had I not gone on the trip to Milan. But otherwise, I mean, it's all just healing. And obviously the penicillin to accelerate the healing of the infection will be helpful now. So it probably would have been best for me if not to gone to Milan for work. Although from a work perspective, it was positive and good. It was a good experience, and I describe myself like an animal in the wild where I don't like to show my weakness. So I think I performed okay when presenting and the rest of the week. But the moment I got out and needed to take care of myself, that's exactly what I did the second I got back into Denmark. And it probably would have been better to have had that addressed sooner. I realize that now. But everything's been good. And yeah, there you go. So I'm hoping that now that we're back and I'm feeling better, I've got a few videos that I want to do that I need to catch up on. The trip that Maya and I just took, I want to post that. I still have some stuff from my trip to the US a month ago. But anyway, for everybody to know, we're doing okay. I'm doing better. I'm like the machine behind the channel who does all the editing. So if I'm out of commission, things kind of grind to a halt. But working on getting it back up again. And that's just a quick overview of what's been up. My experience in the hospital, which was not a problem. It was super good. And there you go. We're back at it. We appreciate you guys watching. And, maybe a quick link below to the time that Miranda messed up her knee because she had to go to the hospital for that and talked about that. So check that video out if you haven't seen it. We'll see you later, though. Bye.